How do you create a will in the state of Florida, or what we might also call a last will and testament? A will or a last will and testament, don't confuse it with a living will. I won't go into the difference in this video, but there is a difference between a living will and just what we would call a will. So what is a will first, before I get into the specifics about how to create it? So will, most people you're probably familiar with the idea of it, and it's really just who gets what of your stuff after you pass away. So there's going to be a couple main provisions that you put in the will. So number one is, again, what most people think of: who gets your money, who gets your house, who gets your car, who gets your stuff, right? That's the main thing you're going to be thinking about. You're going to have to name somebody who's going to do all of that stuff. In Florida, we call that person the personal representative, or the PR. Some states use the term executor, but Florida uses the term personal representative. And again, that's the person who's going to get all your stuff, or is going to be in charge of distributing all of your stuff, hiring the probate attorney, going through the probate process, and all of that. You might also, if you have young kids, you might say who's going to become the legal guardian of your children if something were to happen to the parents. If you have pets, you might even say who's going to be in charge of your pets. So those are generally the basic things that you're going to put in that will. So what are the requirements? Well, it needs to be in writing. Florida does not accept oral wills, meaning, you just tell somebody. And I get that call somewhat frequently. Hey, mom told me I got the car, but she didn't put anything in writing. Do I still get it? Well, it depends, right? But as far as valid wills go, it has to be in writing. Holographic wills generally are not going to be accepted. The person making the will needs to be 18 years of age. That's not all that surprising, but they need to be 18 years of age. They need to be of sound mind, meaning they need to know what they're doing. They can't be incompetent. They can't be, Alzheimer's, dementia. Very difficult to make a will if you don't have capacity in that sense. It needs to be in writing, like I said. So it can't be a holographic, can't be an oral will. It needs to be signed, right? So that's a big thing. You wouldn't think it, but I see a lot of wills fail because they didn't sign it in the right place. So the statute actually says it needs to be signed at the end. So there is a specific place on the will that it needs to be signed. Now, it doesn't have to be notarized, but there does need to be two witnesses. So two separate witnesses need to be there when it's signed. And so all three people have to sign at the same time. The two witnesses and the person who's making the will, all three of them need to actually be in the room at the same time, watching each other sign the will. Okay? Those are generally going to be the requirements. Now, there is a form called a self-proof affidavit, which is going to be notarized, and I'm going to highly recommend that everybody has that because it's going to make it a lot easier, but I won't go into that here. So generally, in writing, signed by the person making it, and have two witnesses. Really simple requirements, but I see it get messed up all the time. Wills do get challenged a lot in probate court. This is, not something you can and should just handwrite yourself because it could be challenged or might not be valid. But those are the basic requirements of what a will, of how to create a will, and what a will in Florida looks like.